Now's the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there. And we've got to lead it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
You're watching by Rumble, watching by YouTube, or any platform in which you're able to comment. Again, if you're new to the broadcast, we would love to hear from you and let us know where you guys are joining us from. Before we get started on today's broadcast, again, we want to encourage you, if you've not yet downloaded our free app, please do it today. If you're watching this live at the end of the broadcast, in the description of this video right there on Facebook Live, even if you're watching by Rumble or YouTube, in the description, you can go down and it'll say download free app. There's a link right there. It's easy to do. Just click on that and it's going to take you to a page. And depending on what device you have, whether it's an iOS or Apple, or it's an Android, you can simply click on the Apple logo or the Android logo, and it's going to take you to the store in which you need to be directed to, and you can download our free app. If you're listening by podcast, by Spotify or Apple today, again, go to your Play Store, depending on who you have as your carrier and device you have, and you can just type in End Time Headlines, download our free app, get every headline, be notified of it, get all of our podcasts right there available at your fingertips to be able to watch or listen at your leisure. So again, that's the best way to keep up with our ministry and what we're doing at End Time Headlines. We got a lot to cover on today's program. So without further ado, let's get started on this thing. I want to talk about, yes, I know, despite that we're heading into summer, we're already getting the warnings. More than 30 million in the Southwest brace for what is being deemed as dangerous heat or dangerous heat wave. According to reports, temperatures will rise well above 100 degrees in large swaths of California, Nevada, and Arizona throughout the weekend. And meteorologists are warning residents to prepare now. They are saying, again, more than 30 million individuals are in the crosshairs of dangerous heat wave, and under heat alerts. More than 50 daily high temperature records could be shattered through the weekend, including Death Valley, California, one of the hottest places on earth. Quote, don't underestimate the heat. Heat is one of the most deadly weather hazards, so be sure to practice heat safety this week. Record high temperatures will be felt across portions of Texas on Wednesday and Thursday, expanding to California on Friday, tomorrow. The Weather Prediction Center made the statement yesterday. High pressure will create what they're calling a heat dome over the western United States. And this dome will trap any escaping radiation and send it back to the ground while the sun's rays continue to penetrate through. Now, you say, well, hold on, brother. It's summer. This is why are we even talking about? We're getting ready to head into. We're not officially in summer yet. One, number two, that's what we're going to hear. But I want to remind you. Let's take a trip on memory lane, if you would. All the emphasis that's been given to us and the urgency to transition to electric vehicles. We've heard this. It's being pushed all the way from the highest place, the highest office of America. Go electric. Everything's going green, going electric. Get away from the gas-powered vehicles. Well, here we are with soaring gas prices, electric prices, energy prices, and they're saying that we're in an energy crisis. And we're going to talk about the gas in just a moment. But I want to remind you, even though we've got this going on, remember this story? Many of you guys will remember this. Some of you won't. but this came out last month. They were warning us this. Quote, blackouts are possible this summer due to what? Heat and extreme weather.
Well, as the weather warms up, so does the demand for electricity.
That's right.
Yeah, a new report, I should say, shows supply, though, may not be able to meet demand, and that could lead to blackouts.
We want to bring in 4229's Robert, sir. He's joining us now with more in tonight's Forecasting Our Future. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Paige. Good evening to you. Now, the Mid-Continent System Operator, or MISO, which transmits power to about 15 Midwestern states, including a good portion of Arkansas, says they are preparing for a, quote, possible worst-case scenario this summer because there's a chance that there's just not enough electricity to go around.
Oh, we may not have enough power to get us through the summer. The governor and state energy officials are warning of possible rolling blackouts this summer on the hottest days. We could end up short anywhere from 1,700 to 5,000 megawatts. What does that mean? Well, especially if fires take out transmission lines, 3.75 million homes could be without power.
The combination of extreme temperatures and ongoing drought could cause the power grid to, quote, buckle across vast areas of the country this summer, potentially leading to electricity shortages and blackouts. This was a warning by the U.S. power grid regulator. Now, think of the irony of that for a moment. All these people rushing out to buy electric powered vehicles because gas is soaring, and now the average price of a gallon of unleaded gasoline across America is now $5 a gallon. Let that soak in. So everybody, there's this push to go electric. So here we are. All these people are getting, and I see them all the time, guys. I go down the road here in Georgia and I see Teslas all day long. So people are buying them. They are converting to electric vehicles. Not all, not most. I would say most people are not. Most people can't afford that. Most people don't have the luxury to do that. But nevertheless, look at this scenario. So you got all these people with the quote unquote electric vehicles that require electricity to run them. So let's think of this hypothesis. Here we go into the heat of summer, and we have these extreme scenarios of drought, famine, extreme heat, weather conditions, and boom, there is a quote, blackout and electricity shortage. Then you're going to have a lot of people that ain't going anywhere and they're stuck. NERC, which is a regulating authority that oversees the health of the nation's electrical infrastructure, said in its 2022 summer reliability assessment that extreme temperatures and ongoing drought could cause the power grid to buckle. This almost happened, guys, in Texas a couple years ago. High temperatures, the agency warns, will cause the demand for electricity to rise. Not to mention that you got a whole lot of people that's converted their garages into a power charging station for their electric vehicles. I'm sure that's not going to put any pressure on the grid, right? Meanwhile, drought conditions will lower the amount of power available to even meet the demand. Industry prepares its equipment and operators for challenging summer conditions. Persistent extreme drought and its accompanying weather patterns, however, are out of the ordinary and tend to create, quote, extra stresses on electricity supply and demand. Isn't this convenient? The power grid is extremely delicate, and electricity supply must always meet electricity demand. Again, guys, don't think for a moment that all of the states, you guys that are in these states where they have went in and they have put there's these regulated thermostats, these smart meters. In the event of a quote unquote emergency, like what we're talking about here, they will override your ability to determine the temperature of your home. That's the point of doing that. Most places you go into today, warehouses, retail, whatever, the people that actually work at that facility or that department or that store, they don't even have access to control the temperature because someone else in another state, probably in California or somewhere like that, are controlling the temperatures to all these other places. So let's recap. Again, 30 million in the crosshairs for what could be record-breaking heat, a heat wave coming, on top of the fact that they've already warned us that catastrophic blackouts could be in the making, could be inevitable. So just know, I don't know about you, but I would probably be properly prepared in the event that that would happen. But we got to move on. We got other stuff to cover today. I told you we've got a lot to talk about today. The food shortages are not going anywhere. We've been warned and warned and warned, and they keep echoing this month after month after month. And they're saying by the time we get to the fall months, everything that they've been warning about will be at our front doorstep. It will be come to fruition. It will be inevitable. It will be manifested. Now a leading global health figure has come out recently and warned that the next worldwide health crisis could come in the form of food shortages. As the price of basic supplies skyrockets, even in the wealthiest of nations, and he's saying that, quote, these food shortages could be just as deadly as the global pandemic. This was from the New York Post. Peter Sands, who is the executive director of the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, believes a, quote, food shortage could be just as deadly as an airborne pandemic if authorities fail to prepare. I mean, really, what else is there to prepare? How much longer do we need to prepare? How many months now have we been warned about this?
Whether cyclical or structural, all of these impacts have one thing in common. They are massively and deliberately compounded by Putin's war. And this is a cold, callous, and calculated siege by Putin on some of the most vulnerable countries and people in the world. And therefore, honorable members, food has become now part of the Kremlin's arsenal of terror, and we cannot tolerate this.
The Kremlin is weaponizing food supplies and surrounding their actions with a web of lies, Soviet style. We must join forces to call out these fabrications as pure fiction, particularly for the global south. These are Russian ships and Russian missiles that are blocking the exports of crops and grain. Russian tanks, bombs, and mines are preventing Ukraine from planting and harvesting. Let's be clear, these are no EU sanctions on Russian agricultural products. And I say to all countries affected by this food crisis, don't be fooled by the Kremlin's propaganda. Don't be instrumentalized by Russia.
Isn't it, what I find the irony of this is China was preparing for this way before any of these guys came forward and began to sound the alarm on this. We talked about this on our program, that China was hoarding up wheat and they were hoarding up grain. Remember that? We talked about that. Some of y'all remember that I think we talked about that last year, that they were doing this. And there was other nations and other leaders and other organizations that were sitting back and scratching their heads, and they were questioning, why is China doing this? And they even scrutinized them. How is it that China seemed to see this way out here before we ever saw it when it's come to our doorstep? According to SANS, after over 2 years of completely restructuring the world upon the emergence of a respiratory virus, governments now have to prepare for an even more complicated beast. Australia is already beginning to see early signs of food stress as lettuce prices have struck an incredible $12 per head. That's in Australia. That's coming here. Imagine paying $1 per egg, $12 for a carton of eggs. How about $7 to $8 a gallon of milk? Australia is already beginning to see these signs following the flood season, natural disasters, coupled with inflation and complications in the global trade industry. Now stop. Did you hear that cocktail? Let me say it again. Australia is seeing this hyperinflation on their food costs, and it's a direct result of a few things that have been put in a blender and mixed up. What are those ingredients? Natural disasters, inflation, and the global trade industry, or quote unquote, the economy. Now, what's happening in America? What did we just go over? They're warning about natural disasters. We're in inflation, and the economy is being rattled to the core. So what happens? We put these ingredients in the blender, we mix them up, and what are we being served? We're being served something that you read about right in the pages of the book of Revelation, where a loaf of bread will cost a whole day's wages. He goes on to say that the combination of this could, quote, produce a perfect storm as the globe begins to find its feet. Sands, who works in areas already struggling with poverty and malnutrition, says wealthy governments risk making the classic mistake of concerning themselves only with crisis that reflects the most recent disaster the world has faced. Quote, it's not as well defined as some brand new pathogen appearing with distinctive new symptoms, but it could be just as deadly. He goes on and says that governments need to strengthen health systems to prepare for the health repercussions of food shortages. While it's unclear just how devastating accelerated food shortages could be to a first world country like Australia, health experts have urged leaders to stay vigilant. Well, are we doing that in America? What's on the forefront of our great leaders right now, and what they deem to be the most important topics that we need to be discussing? Oh, that's right. It's the January 6th insurrection. Yes, folks, that's what's going to be talked about throughout the night tonight. Because that is, we're still talking about that. We're going to still talk about and what's on the forefront: abortion and gun control. Now, am I saying that any of these events are of no importance? No, I'm not saying that. But all the while, the wizard behind the curtain, the face that's being veiled, the face that's being hidden, the thing that's being swept under the rug is what we're in right now. Hello, We're paying $5 average. Some is give, some is more or some is less, depending on where you're at. Average $5 a gallon of gas. So when it's brought up in press conferences, when it's questioned, what is the response? Crickets, or blaming this or blaming that. But instead, again, pay no attention to that. Don't look at the pump. Don't look at the prices. Don't look at the grocery bill. Don't look at the food costs. Don't look at the shortages. Don't look at the famine. Don't look at all that. Look over here. Look at the circus that's going on over here. Quote, we have been talking about these very scenarios for 50 years. According to Dr. McFarlane, University of Cambria ecological public health expert, who says the global food production and supply system is proving to be as vulnerable as silicone chips, clothing, toys, and fuels. Now, and by the way, in case you've not noticed, and this has been going on for a while, we know that. But now, even the most oblivious is beginning to notice this. From toilet paper to yogurt and coffee to corn chips, manufacturers are quietly shrinking package sizes without lowering prices. Surely you guys have noticed this. It's dubbed, and there's a term for this called shrinkflation. Again, shrinkflation. And it's accelerating worldwide.
How some companies are avoiding sticker shock, reducing the amount of product in the package while keeping the price the same. Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis all over this, breaking it down. Shrinkflation is what we're calling it, Rebecca?
Yes, it is, Robin. It's great to see you, and good morning. And experts are warning that it is starting to show up in more and more places. For example, some of you watching right now might be enjoying a bowl of cereal. Well, Consumer World finds that Honey Bunches of Oats now has 17% less in a package. Their 14.5-ounce boxes are now down to 12 ounces. And to anyone who's sipping a cup of coffee right now, well, Consumer World reports that Folgers has reduced the amount of their canister by 7.5 ounces, bringing the amount down to 43.5 ounces from 51 ounces. So, is that shrinkflation? Well, Folgers says not so fast. In a statement, the company says this is due to a new roasting technology that makes the most out of every bean, resulting in lighter weight coffee grounds, saying, quote, the total weight of our coffee products will be reduced, but the amount of coffee you receive by way of total servings will remain the exact same. And finally, you should also keep an eye on household goods like toilet paper. Consumer World says that Angel Soft toilet paper has reduced the number of sheets per roll, going from 425 sheets per roll to 320. We reached out to both Post and Angel Soft for a comment, did not hear back. And these are just a few examples, Robin, but this is happening with a lot of brands right now.
Honey Bunches of Oats. That's my go-to. That's my jam.
Are so good,
right? Look at that box, okay?
You talk about that. I'm over here worried about counting sheets.
Well, Rebecca, what exactly do consumers need to pay? I just heard what you said.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Attention to.
We don't have to go through and count every single sheet, luckily, in toilet paper, because savvy shoppers know that you can look at the net weight, you can look at the unit price. That's typically the amount in parentheses next to the sticker price, as in how much you're paying per ounce or per pound. These are listed online and in store. Sticker price can look lower or even be on sale, but you may actually be paying more per unit. So if you're in a position to purchase the family size, those frequently have more units at a lower price. Michael, you do not have to do all the math here and every single sheet.
In the U.S., a small box of Kleenex now has 60 tissues. A few months ago, it had 65. Yogurts have shrunk from 5.3 ounces to 4.5 ounces. In the UK, Nestle slimmed down its coffees from 100 grams to 90 grams. In India, their dish soap has shrunk from 155 grams to 135 grams. One expert says it's coming in waves. We happen to be in a tidal wave at the moment because of inflation. In other words, this is nothing new. This has been going on, but now these are not just ripple effects. These are not just little ripples coming to shore. Now we're in tsunami waves of this. And it goes on and on and on. You could read more about this at the Associated Press releases other articles. We put this on End Time Headlines as well. And I've noticed this myself, even going grocery shopping. You see everything is getting, the quantities of things are shrinking and getting smaller while the price of things is getting larger. This is inflation personified. And by the way, if you think $5 a gallon of gas is high, Goldman Sachs is now warning that oil will roar even higher, and consumers will feel, they will, when they go to the gas station, they will actually be convinced that crude oil is at $160 a barrel from surging gas prices. And by the way, guys, our economy, the way it was set up, was supposed to be, and it was set up to sustain $100 a gallon or $100 a barrel gas. And they're saying $160. This, according to the bank, they are warning that consumers will feel as though the prices have surged to $160 a barrel, in part because refinery bottlenecks mean gas prices are surging. So remember when we reported about up in Washington and up places up north in America, here in the United States, where they were designing and they were setting up their gas pumps to be able to facilitate $10 a gallon gas. And we said, oh, some people said, no, that's crazy talk. It'll never get there. Friends, listen, my family and I just got back we did a trip last week. We went to Virginia. We went from Georgia to Virginia. We drove our own vehicle. Now we drove an SUV, so it doesn't get super great gas mileage as it is, but it was 600 miles there, 600 miles back. So it's a 1,200 mile round trip. We paid over $350 in just gas. In Williamsburg, Virginia, there was gas prices there that was $4.79 a gallon. Now I know some of you is like, man, that's cheap. I wish I was paying $4.79 a gallon, because where you live, it may be $6. It may be $7 a gallon. But for us, where we live, that's high. That's real high. Now, again, even this morning on Drudge Report, right on the front page of Drudge Report, it was talking about the sticker shock. The average family car is shelling out $100 a fill up. And again, I don't know what world you live in, but the average individual cannot sustain this week after week after week, especially if you work from home, you may be fine. But if you travel in any form or fashion, and you have to put any kind of mileage on your vehicle, your own vehicle, and unless you're getting reimbursed through your company or through where you work at, or you're getting that taken care of, then again, this cannot sustain, guys. We will not be sustained through this. Oil prices have already jumped roughly 50% this year as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is not letting up any. And to make matters worse, we've got another war that could be on the horizon. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So we got some more. Let me cover something else that is just, this thing is just developing, and it's Every week it changes, progressively changing. Look at these headlines. Quote, let's talk about the monkeypox, AKA glorified syphilis. More than 550 monkeypox cases have been reported in 30 countries, according to the World Health Organization. Now, according to the Daily Mail and some other media outlets, they say the U.S. has up to 300 cases already, which is 9 times the official tally of 31. Now, again, I'm only giving you the report, but lack of testing is leading to hundreds of infections being missed. Wow, that's a shock. I saw one article that said that this could have been here for years and it's been going on under the radar. Here's another headline, quote, short-range airborne monkeypox transmission is possible. Here we go again. Calls for caution with large gatherings. A doctor who's an infectious disease expert at Emory University claimed the U.S. likely already has as many monkeypox cases as 300 detected in the U.K. She went on to say that a lack of testing for the virus is to be blamed for so many being missed. She went on to point the finger at the complex testing process with swabs sent to one of 74 labs and then on to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Other experts say cases may be misdiagnosed as other diseases. America's cases are mostly, again, I'm only giving you the quote here. America's cases are predominantly among gay and bisexual men and linked to international travel. We talked about that. That's where it originated from. But there is at least one case with no links to travel or a known cause.
The World Health Organization is sounding the alarm on the future of monkeypox. Earlier this week, the organization warned time may be running out to prevent an endemic in countries where the virus is not normally seen. The WHO Director General had this to say about the growing risk.
The risk of monkeypox becoming established in non-endemic countries is real. It's clearly concerning that monkeypox is spreading in countries where it has not been seen before.
It's a concern here in the U.S., too. The number of monkeypox cases has jumped to 35, with 4 cases identified in the last 24 hours. The CDC has already issued a level 2 travel alert, urging everyone to take extra precautions while on a trip. Let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Uche Blackstock. Dr. Blackstock is also an emergency medicine physician and the CEO of Advancing Health Equity. Doctor, always good to have you with us. So we've been talking about monkeypox for a little while now. We should note the numbers are still relatively low, though there is growing concern about its spread, but health experts say not too late to contain it. How do we do that?
Yeah, so absolutely. And what we use are the tried and true public health measures that we know work. Identify people who are infected, contact people who have been in close proximity to them, and isolate them. And so all of the same measures that actually worked in the beginning days of the COVID pandemic are going to work for monkeypox. We also need to let people know what symptoms to be aware of: fever, malaise, body aches, as well as that traditional rash, a red rash that becomes fluid-filled with pustules.
So, guys, this is, people, again, I know they've got you occupied over here with the circus, but all the while, this is happening. This is going on, and this is going to keep roaring its head. And again, remember the Bible says there will be pestilences in various places. So we shouldn't be shocked by this. The sad thing is the Bible predicts it, but men will take advantage of that. Let me say that again. The Bible predicts pestilences, but men will take advantage of it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I think most of you have enough wisdom to read between the lines of what I'm saying there and what's taking place. Now, I want to leave you with one more story today. To me, this is a huge story that you're not going to hear much about here. Because again, the circus is in town and it's got all the lights and the glamour and the smoke screen and everybody's over here staring at this. All the while this is happening. The Israeli Defense Forces just carried out drills to practice a devastating war on their own home soil and away. What is being called Chariots of Fire. This drill included, listen to me, thousands of Israeli troops, hundreds of Israeli aircraft, and Navy vessels, all trained together in a scenario of going to war with Israel's enemies. And even, now listen, on all fronts, what I just described to you, and that was from the Jerusalem Post. That paragraph right there just gave light to a prophetic war called Psalm 83. Go read in the book of Psalms, chapter 83, and it talks about a war against Israel on all fronts with a collaboration of nations that has one agenda, and that's to eliminate Israel, to wipe them out. This also can describe another prophetic war of Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, Gog and Magog, which again makes up another collaboration of nations, including Iran, Turkey, and southern Soviet Russian states. Again, this drill was carried out as a scenario of war on, quote, all fronts and all dimensions, including a sophisticated strike on Iran. Why? Because Iran is continuing their nuclear ambitions and program, and we've heard warning after warning after warning, and Israel has made it abundantly clear that either with the help of the United States or without it, they will not allow Iran to become a nuclear nation with the intent to use those weapons on the Jewish people, and they will do whatever it takes to defend their country. Chariots of Fire brought the Israeli military to a new standard as troops practiced responding to emergency events in multiple theaters simultaneously while under heavy rocket fire from all borders, especially from the north. The Israeli army expects the home front to be bombarded. Now listen to this. They're expecting it. They're expecting to be bombarded with over 1,500 rockets a day until the last day of the war. So again, I want you to hear this. They are anticipating a war, not if, but when. And it won't be a little squeamish with Lebanon. It won't be a little squeamish in Gaza with Hamas or Hezbollah. This is going to be a war against Israel where there's going to be a unified coalition consisting of, like in the likelihood of Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and the likes thereof that will come together. In this scenario, they expect to be bombarded with 1,500 rockets a day. The attacks would wreck the country with dozens of buildings and sites destroyed and hundreds killed and wounded. The Israeli Defense Forces assessment state that while it is unlikely that Hezbollah will attack Israel in the near future, the northern border remains the most explosive, and both sides have warned that the next conflict between the two would be devastating. So don't think that there's not a little bit of political theater here. And what do I mean by that? You are not going to carry out an operation, a drill on this magnitude, and then turn around and say, well, this scenario of being attacked is not likely, but we want to be prepared. Really? Come on, guys. There's political theater going on here. They know that it's coming, and that's why they're carrying these things out. Just like there's been leaked documents now and leaked audio that China is, it's not a matter of if, but China is planning to invade Taiwan. Well before Russia invaded Ukraine, we were warned and warned and warned that Russia was going to move into Ukraine. And the talking heads and people, oh, that's not going to happen. That's fake news. No, no, no. And you still got people that even to this day, that still doesn't believe that Russia has gone into Ukraine. The Mediterranean island was chosen both for its Lebanon-like terrain, mountainous along a coastal plain, and its proximity to Israel. The drill simulated various difficulties in a ground assault, such as food, water, and ammunition supply, communication issues, and the general complications in operating in unfamiliar territory. The first challenge we prepare for was accumulating troops. Again, this was from a commander of the 98th Paratroopers Division, who led the exercise. He went on to say that thousands of troops were brought into play the Lebanese side using boats, planes, and helicopters. Quote, we arrived in the field with greater intensity. We spread out the troops and they began operating against key areas and significant targets we identified as being important to defeat. He went on to refer to mock enemy military sites and rocket launching grounds. According to another report, troops conducted raids with a significant distance between each, challenging their ability to work while disconnected. So what are we talking about here? Again, keep your eyes on the Mideast. Keep it on Israel. Keep it on Iran. Don't let the circus in town distract you from what's going on. This is why we cover these issues. There's a famine happening. There is events that are being prepared for. The powers that be are preparing for catastrophic global chaos all the way around, whether it be economical, whether it be weather events, whether it be climate oriented, whether it be wars, rumors of wars, whether it be pestilences, plagues, and the such. And we as believers cannot allow the enemy to cradle us asleep and allow us, watch this, to get tangled up into the geopolitical side of this. I'm telling you, believers are bad about it. We expect the world to do that. But as believers, we have to remember Luke 21:28. When you begin to see all these things coming to pass, he didn't say look up and look for the Democratic Party to shine through. He didn't say look up and look for the Republican Party to shine through. He didn't say look up and look for the next nominee or the next political affiliation to save us or deliver us or to come up with a plan. No, he said, when you begin to see all these things taking place, he said, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption is drawing near. And he's referring to our Lord and Savior, the Mashiach, the Messiah, the Son of Man, the King of Kings, and the Lord of Lords. He which was, which is, and is to come, the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega. That's what we need to keep our eyes on and focused on, and not all the antics and the smoke screens that are taking place. So again, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. Don't forget to share this, guys. If you would, Please share this on Rumble, share it on YouTube, share our podcast, share this on Facebook, link it, copy the link, share it with them, whatever the case may be. If you know anybody if they like eschatology, end times, prophecy, they like to keep up with the current events and how it relates to Bible prophecy, make sure you share our ministry with them. Again, don't forget to get the app today. It's available on Apple, available on Android. It's free for you to download at your leisure. And as always, guys, we want to give you the opportunity, if this ministry is a continual source of information, equipping, encouragement, and blessing, we want you to pray about becoming a monthly partner. You can do that 2 different ways. You can give electronically through the app or through the main website. It's real easy to do. You can do that there. If you're watching by Rumble, YouTube, or Facebook Live, right there in the comment section below, you're going to see where it says support ETH or support the ministry. There's going to be a link. Just click on that link, and that's going to take you where you can give electronically, or you can give by check or money order. And you can do that by making it out to End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. And as always, guys, if you give by check or money order, please don't forget to leave an email address so that we can personally thank you for your generous giving and partnership of our ministry. As always, guys, thank you for taking the time out to be a part of the broadcast. Again, today is Thursday. Tomorrow will be our last day, our last program. We'll be signing off for tomorrow. And I actually have to preach at my 2 services on Sunday at my local church here in Georgia. So we will be taking tomorrow will be our last broadcast. Podcasting this week will be off this weekend. And then we will be back on next Monday, Lord willing. And we will kick off another week of podcasting. So hope to see you tomorrow, guys. Until then, may the Lord bless you. May he keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you in Jesus' name. God bless you guys. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.